You are now listening to the Dynasty Rewind.
Welcome, Rewinders, to the Sunday night recap show. We've got Dustin Royer, the film guru, in the house. You can find him at on X at all22_FF. I'm Chris Lemke. You can find me at clemke007_FF. So today's action was pretty wild. I don't know. It was the first time in 3 weeks we didn't have somebody drop the ball at the goal line yet, but we still had some great action. And I don't know. I mean, Rico Dowdle was once again probably the smash of the week, but we've got a couple of others on the thumbnail. Let's hit up those guys first. We'll head down to New Orleans and start with the Patriots Saints. Dustin, what do we got to say about Drake May and his stud performance today?
Well, so in the offseason, I was banging the drum for Drake May, even reaching on him in startups. I mean, when you're going down that top 5 quarterback list, once I got to Jalen Hurts, I started looking around and I just couldn't see anybody else with more upside than Drake May. And, I thought I went out on a limb in my final rankings. I had him at quarterback 5, and he has made the case here to be able to be the QB1 in Dynasty potentially. I mean, the way he's performing right now, I mean, he has Stephon Diggs on the last chapter of his career, but he's elevating everybody around him. He doesn't have a run game. They're turning the ball over. He's just looking like, I hate to say it, like an MVP potentially in his second year already.
Yeah, I mean, after the victory in Buffalo last week on Sunday Night Football in front of the whole nation, now he goes down to New Orleans in a game that everybody expected, the Patriots to win. But once again, just spreading the ball around. This week, he didn't have to hammer Stephon Diggs all game. I mean, last week was the Stephon Diggs show in Buffalo. But even Hunter Henry didn't smash this week. I mean, it was targets all around.
Booty, 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 booty.
Hell yeah. But, I mean, unfortunately, though, we didn't see TreVeyon Henderson do a whole lot, and we're all waiting for that big game. And, we got 13 carries once again from Stevenson, 13 carries for 18 yards. I mean, how bad does this guy have to do before they start giving Henderson more looks? Like, I mean, Gibson's out now. It's super frustrating. Henderson's one of the more frustrating players to own right now in Dynasty. I mean, you can talk DeAndre Swift being frustrating, one other rookie and RJ Harvey, but Hendo to me is almost with this poor performance of his fellow backmates there in New England. What are you doing with Henderson? Or, I mean, if you have him, you got to hold, I think, but what would you be willing to part with? I mean, are you giving up a playoff first for him, like, easily? Or what would you say you'd value him at right now, Dustin?
So first thing I want to say is, like, just on the offense itself, it's kind of a very rare scenario where Drake May is just elevating everybody around him. They don't have a running game. They really don't have like a number one alpha. I know Diggs is stepping up, but it's causing like that Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes effect where they're just spreading the ball around. Drake's reading the field so well. It's almost like when they line up to run, it's the most obvious play to the defense. Like the run is such a small niche in their offense, so to speak, comparative to what's being successful for them. With Travion, it's been tough. I mean, over the last couple weeks, he has kind of been like that 1B piece in some of the bigger trades that I've made. So I haven't really went straight up. I would probably hold though, because he's kind of on that decline as an asset. He would probably be a target where I would try to take like a veteran with a spike week, somebody with a little bit of hype, flip it into Travion, and then try to, duplicate that production. It doesn't always have to be like position for position. You can give up, say maybe you give up like, let me think. Who's a good mid-level receiver that's producing right now? Like a Debo Samuel.
You could say Waddle or Olave, right?
Yeah, or like let's say Debo Samuel, for instance, because we're talking dynasty right now. He's the wide receiver 9. You could probably flip out of Debo and less than a first, get into Travion, and then grab like a production guy. Like you could probably get Jacoby Myers for almost nothing in that deal. It's not going to look pretty, but when you look at the point spread potentially at the end of the season, it could be a move for you. I mean, if you're rebuilding, I would be targeting Travion no matter what. If you're sitting pretty like 4-1 right now, maybe looking at 5-1, and you can sacrifice some production elsewhere, I would still be going after him. When these backfields flip, they just happen. It's not so spotty like with wide receivers where a guy might have a game because of scheme. And every game that goes by, it's just more and more blatant that they're going to need to use Travion.
Absolutely. So over on the New Orleans side of the ball, there's not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, Olave did have 10 targets. He caught one big bomb for 53 yards. For me, Olave's kind of in that Jalen Waddle boat, right, where he's getting his targets. Waddle's a little more explosive than Olave, but they're just gross targets. I mean, he had this 53-yarder, but outside of that, it was 5 for 45. So that's really what he's been all season. And I'm not targeting him at all. If I think I have maybe 1 or 2 shares of him, I'm trying to get out, but nobody wants him, right? And so you're just kind of stuck holding him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you had brought up, he's probably a good candidate for a spike week and a flip to try to get maybe younger or, backfill a position of need.
And then Kamara, I mean, the guy just isn't doing anything to even flip him. So
yeah,
I mean,
one of my biggest misses so far this season, real quick, one of my biggest misses, I just want to apologize to all the listeners out there. I was banging the drum for Alvin Kamara. I really thought that he would be such a focal point of this offense. And I can't really say he looks washed, but he just kind of looks like he knows like he's walking towards the sunset. He's kind of playing the motions. A little bit too excited when Kendre Miller does good things on the field. If you saw that on the sideline, it looks a little bit like he's kind of just lost his edge. A little bit of what I said.
It's hard for a dude like him to get excited.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the guy's been in playoff games and had a good career and whatnot. And now the news came out that he did not want to get traded. So that was kind of odd, but that kind of leaves you just hanging. If you've got him, it's unfortunate.
Right. They're going to talk about it too in the media, but they're going to talk about Kamara in the media, but he has a no trade clause in his contract.
Yeah.
So when he says he doesn't want to go, he's not going to go. And kind of similar thought process to what I said about Drake May, except for Drake May's good. Rattler is executing the offense from the 20 to the 20 as well as possible. They're not scoring points. They're turning it over. But there's no need for them to just focus on Alvin Kamara and make him the entire offense. If they're going to lose, they're going to lose, but Kellen Moore is going to install his offense. So, it's just we're really up against a bunch of stubbornness when it comes to what's going on in New Orleans.
Do you think, though, that Rattler is doing well enough to keep Shook on the bench? That's the real key, because Rattler's still cheap, right? Like, I mean, I had somebody trying to get a first for him from me, and I would just absolutely no way. But, I mean, a second, I kind of considered. I still declined it, but, I mean, he's just there's no guarantee there. I don't like buying quarterbacks where there's no guaranteed production the rest of the season, because you're living when you're at that level of a quarterback, you're really living in a year-to-year window, just like an older quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers, right? So, because we don't know past this season how many starts a Spencer Rattler type is going to actually have. Now, I just don't buy into it because Shook is there, and they could just draft somebody. They could draft Newsmeyer or any other rookie quarterback next year. Because Shook, yeah, he may have been taken in the second round, but they don't have any. That a second round pick on a quarterback is not a heavy investment. I'll just put it that way.
The one thing with the Saints that I always pay attention to, they've been in perpetual cap hell for years, from always kicking the can down the road with Alvin Kamara and some other guys. With Shook being a second-round pick fully guaranteed, it almost seems like they're just leaving Rattler in there to play good enough to keep everybody off their backs while they just tank and tank and tank. I could really see potentially them developing Shook for the year and then trying to bring him into the fold next year fresh with some new weapons, potentially like a high round, lineman, wide receiver, or something like that. We'll see. I mean, if they're really active in the trade deadline here too, I mean, we could see a bunch of shuffling, and then, Shook could be out there as the sacrificial lamb too. I mean, it could go either way with these quarterbacks.
Well, and if Rattler is doing well enough, they could actually flip him for some kind of pick. We don't know what quarterbacks are going to get hurt,
right?
But if he's actually leading,
and Rattler's payday is a year, a year sooner than Shuck's, and like I was saying, they're exactly. Cash poor, so
right. All right. Well, I think we talked enough about the Saints. That's gross enough. Let's get into some action that we want to see, and then we'll talk Dolphins Chargers. That one came right down to the end. We had the Chargers taking it 29-27 over the Finns. We had a good game from Devon Achane, went over 100 yards with 2 touchdowns on the ground, added another 22 in the air, so 150 total. Tua with a Tua type performance, I guess you'd say. And then Waddle had 6 for 95 on 8 targets. So I'll start by apologizing because I did not last week on the Start Sit show. I said to sit Waddle, and you kind of agreed for the same reasons, because of his spike weeks. And, over the last couple of seasons, he had his good games with Tyreek there because the coverage was shifted over to Tyreek. And now with Tyreek out, we both, I think, see that it's going to shift over to him. So it's going to be up and down. Now he's had a good couple of weeks. Boom, maybe sell him now. It all depends on your team, on your roster. If you've got enough other wide receivers, that's a possibility. And that's always what it comes down to. I mean, if you need him, I wouldn't sell him because he's doing just fine right now. You don't have to sell him, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Dolphins offense right now, Dustin?
Yeah, I mean, I know we had talked about sitting Waddle last week, but the main argument with guys like him is, I want to see them do it 2 weeks in a row before I trust them, be it like a flex guy or a wide receiver 2 or 3. Generally, if you're building your roster the way that I recommend it, Waddle should probably be a wide receiver 3, maybe a wide receiver 2 for you anyways. So if you're in that circumstance, you should have been able to survive not relying on him being one of your top 2 guns. And, now I would be comfortable plugging him in and being able to rely on that production. We talked about it last week a little bit. One of the things I'm noticing with fantasy football and NFL in general this year, with the shrinking of the field due to the dynamic kickoff and starting at the 30 to the 40-yard line, the the touchdown or bust, wide receiver 3 flex play like it used to be 10 years ago when touchdowns and we chased them, they were so important. It seems like that's becoming such a big deal now. We're not getting as many yards, so there's not as many snaps and first downs to attain. So we're not getting guys being peppered with PPR targets like we used to. A lot of those looks are going to tight ends. A lot of those looks are going to running backs coming out of the backfield because they're using mismatches with safeties and linebackers over the middle. So, one of the things this year for fantasy football, especially in Dynasty, I feel like if you can win those flex positions, you stand the chance to just absolutely go nuclear any week. A guy like Waddle, you just kind of have to take your lumps, play your start sits right in those other positions. And but I mean, there's no reason not to start Waddle. I mean, the only competition he's really had since Tyreek went down is some spike games from Waller. But I mean, you could see over the last 2 weeks, Waddle doesn't need a touchdown to produce as long as the ADOT's there and he's getting those handful of receptions.
Yeah, and just to touch on to follow up on, I love your point in winning the flexes, because I used to always try and win the flex with the wide receiver position, right? I'd really draft heavy wide receivers, so I'd be loaded 5-6 deep at wide receiver out of my first 7 or 8 picks, right? But now, and it's tied into the less wide receivers being peppered with targets. Now I'm always trying to. I've got a lot more teams where I'm trying to win the flex with running backs, just off of running backs that are getting the volume, right? I mean, I'm not talking Achane here, who obviously gets the targets. He had 6 targets, 4 catches today out of the backfield. But as soon as there's an injury, I'm trying to scoop them up. Like, I had Michael Carter in my lineup in like 10 of my leagues, and I had to make a mad scramble around 9 this morning when Bam Knight was announced the starter. And that was I think it ended up being about even. I don't know. I know Bam got in the end zone, but that's my point. There just aren't as many receivers getting hammered with those targets over the middle. So it's made for a little more adjustment. It's made for a little more work and research for sure. But I don't mind that. I feel I work harder than most in my leagues, so I got no problem with that being an issue, right? So anyway, Achane smashed 150 yards, 2 touchdowns today, total offense. If we go over to the Chargers now, we had the scratch from Quentin Johnston, which I saw coming on Wednesday when he pulled up with that hamstring injury. That's never good for a player. And then he missed all practice the rest of the week. So we had Ladd McConkey come back to life. And you can tell me to eat it, because when we did the Start Sit show, I was a little pumped on Quentin. You were downplaying it. I'll give you the floor because you got me on that one, I'll say.
Do you remember what I said about it? Do you remember my reasoning behind Ladd this week in Arunde Gadsden? They had no running game.
I remember why you didn't want Quentin Johnston, because you said these could be his only 4 good weeks of the year.
Right, and it was because they have the injuries on their offensive line. They're down their top 2 running backs. And so I anticipated that they were going to be running quick game, most of the time, and Herbert was going to have to get the ball out. And if you look at it, I'd have to really pull up the stats, but Gadsden was, I think, 6
Gadsden had 8 targets, 7 for 68.
Right, and
so,
then you had
awesome
Ladd.
And I love that part of it. Yeah.
Lad went absolutely nuclear. For
The big catch at the end of the
comparatively,
game.
yeah. Did you see him flexing? That's why
Lad flexing is something, to be desired. It's kind of like me flexing. Okay. I mean, it's not pretty, but it's pretty if
all
you
right.
own them.
Anyway, you're a hater. You're a Lad hater. He went 9 targets, 7 receptions, 100 yards flat, and a touchdown. But the biggest thing for me that I saw, well, 2 things. I think him and Herbert getting on the same page is massive for the confidence of the team, especially with everything that's going on. And 2, it looks like Lad is finally healthy. He had consistently been getting 7 targets a game. I had noticed that defensive backs were just playing him in press man coverage and just beating the living hell out of Lad. And he was already banged up to coming into the season. But it's this weird thing I've noticed. And I talked to this with Sigmund about him marrying Hampton before he got hurt. Some of these young players, it's like they have to hit this switch with their confidence. Like once they know they're the guy, and then it's on again, and it's so hard when we play fantasy football. We see numbers and like a profile picture of a player. But imagine if you're Lad McConkey, you busted your whole, come in, it's your season, you're supposed to be the one. And then your quarterback's playing so good that you don't even get the ball because Quentin Johnson's just catching sail routes,
Now, is Scadaboo getting the ball because of his profile pick on Sleeper right now? Because
Scadaboo? No, he's just good at football.
Have you seen it? No, back to Lad.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I'm going to be digging into the film. We're going to be doing a start, sit, quit, buy, sell, trade episode here. We're going to be recording in the next couple days. But it looked good on film. He looked like he was separating. But the biggest thing for me was he just looked healthy. He looked locked in, and he looks like he's ready to go. And they're going to have to lean on Lad. Even if Quentin Johnson comes back, healthy, they're probably not going to have the time they need to develop those big sail routes, the crossers, deep posts, stuff like that. They'll probably start using him in more of that like Debo Samuel gadget, horizontal crossing route type thing. A little bit of like what we saw from J-Mo last year, like get him moving, get the ball in his hands. So yeah, I'm super pumped, man. Kamani Vidal was your waiver wire hero this week. Yeah, and I got to shout out my buddy Jason Allwine over from Player Profiler and RotoWire. He was on Kamani Vidal so hard last year. He went to war for that guy, and it was so cool to see that kid get on the field and really earn it. He played awesome, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers don't even go and look for a running back now. It's kind of like that Rico Dowdle situation.
Guy, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, you can't put that back in the bottle. No. Like we were talking about Travion, when those things change like they do, it just happens and they ride the hot hand.
Absolutely. I mean, he got his opportunity and he took advantage of it. 124 yards on 18 carries, added 3 catches for 14 yards and a tutty in the air. So, I mean, that's 138 total yards. Jinx in the house here. He said he got Vidal. Didn't buy into the Haskins hype. Yeah. I think I got about an even amount of shares of them. I always play the bottom of my roster so I could scoop up guys like this, just like I did last week. Had a bunch of Michael Carters, and I was able to, turn them into Bam Knights this morning. But it's all in the roster construction. And again, that goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Dustin. Like, you've got to play the volume game. Like these teams, that's all the information that we have is volume. We can't. We're not in the defensive coordinator's room seeing who they're planning on focusing on in any given week going forward, right? Like even when they're going up against the Bengals, right? We don't know how much focus they're going to put on Chase, right? So that's where it comes in. And when you're taking on a team like the Chargers, who's got so many weapons, even without QJ in the lineup, you're talking McConkey, Keenan Allen, and Vidal and Haskins are completely different types of running backs. So obviously they weren't doing much film on Vidal because his speed and burst took over the game for them offensively. And I'm sure you'll be able to, once you break down the film, I'm sure you'll be able to see some of the run scheme that worked for them.
It seemed like they were running a lot. They were running a lot of inside zone. They were taking advantage of the size of their linemen and the compact size of Vidal, kind of getting them in the muck in the middle. Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to say one thing. It's a big theme with Dynasty this year. If you have experience playing redraft, especially over the last 10 years, like you have to grind this waiver wire. You're going to have to be getting into depth charts. You need to be looking at practice squads. So this whole thing with Michael Carter, Amari DiMercato, Vidal, Haskins. So just kind of to clue people in kind of the way that NFL franchises operate, right? So you had Haskins as the backup. He plays on special teams. Vidal doesn't play special teams. So he's a like for the starting running back. Since he doesn't play special teams, he doesn't contribute. They don't want to put him on the field and risk him getting hurt. So they'll stash that guy on their practice squad. And that's why you always see these weird situations where all of a sudden this guy comes out of nowhere and he comes in. That's because he's essentially like the emergency third quarterback, like they have, on the team. It's the guy that he might not be a superstar, but he can come in and facilitate the offense. He has the right skill set. And then you see what happened. I mean, like Naheem Hines came in, he was the kickoff guy. Haskins didn't play special teams, and we talked about it last week. When it comes to guys like Harbaugh and Roman, you can just go on Wikipedia and read about them for 5 minutes and you'll know exactly what they're going to do because they do the same thing over and over and over and over. They have a big back and they have a lead back and they just do their thing. The one thing with Vidal, and then we'll get off this real fast. If you're a team that was able to pick him up, you don't need him whatsoever. You're just kind of playing defense off the waiver wire, which is one of my favorite things to do.
Yep.
Throw him out there in the chat. Put out whatever pick you want. Just be careful when you're trading. If you're contending, don't always trade with the powerhouse teams in your league. You don't want to sideways yourself and put yourself at a disadvantage because you want to draft it. Yeah, play defense on the wire, play defense on your trade.
Just because you can get that third from them. I mean, it looks nice in the bank there, but if it's somebody you're going to be playing against later in the year, and it's somebody like Vidal, who now we've got an update from the Omarion Hampton injury where he might be out longer than just those 4 weeks. Yeah, like you don't want to end up. I've even gone as I look ahead at the schedule, see if they're on my schedule. I don't want to get burned by giving up a third rounder, right? So just something to think about. But let's move on to the Dallas Carolina game, and we've got another special teamer turning and running wild here. Rico Dowdle played. He doesn't play it so much now in Carolina, but that's what he was in Dallas. And if you were grinding the waivers last year, you hit a home run. And he's hitting the home run right now in Carolina. Once again, over 200 all-purpose yards. He's got almost 500 all-purpose yards over the last 2 weeks. It's like 470 something. Got another touchdown today. Rico Dowdle, are we scared as Chuba Hubbard owners now? Because I know I got plenty of Chuba. What do you think there when Chuba finally comes back potentially next week? What do you think the split becomes now, Dustin?
I'm going to have to kick this one back to you because I was the Rico Dowdle guy all summer. Best third round picks I ever spent in Dynasty. Got the poop emoji from the guys in the group chat and everything, and then I beat that guy last week and I traded him Chuba Hubbard. So I've been out on Hubbard. It's really not a talent thing. It's just kind of that thing we talk about, late round running back, they produce.
Yeah.
I recycle them. And, when a guy's season, the last thing on Sleeper says Chuba Hubbard's season will not end in surgery for calf and ankle injuries. And then a team goes and signs a guy that was a 1,000-yard rusher on a 60% snap share. He didn't even start, until I think a quarter of the way through the season. And then they draft like a lightning rod like Travis Etienne. It was just kind of in the cards there. But at this point, I think there's at least a 50-50 here. The biggest problem I think you could run into as a Chuba manager is Dowdle's a volume guy. Think of like a Derrick Henry, where he wears the defense down and he just continues to chunk yardage. So if they're going to run a hot hand 50-50, I could see Chuba ending up on the wrong side of that because Rico just gets going and they can't pull him off the field. It's that same effect like we saw with Scatabo with the Giants. Like when the guy's running dudes over, the linemen want to block, the defenders want to turn the ball over, like everybody's ready to go. And, don't tell anybody, but Carolina's getting their stuff together. They're starting to play good football.
Yep. Bryce Young getting it going, 17 of 25, just 199, but 3 touchdowns and a pick. One of those to Tet McMillan, actually 2 of them to Tet. 3 for 29. Tetaroa, sorry. If you ask him or his mom, it's Tetaroa.
Thank you.
So a big game for our boy McMillan. Yes, Dave Canales and the Panthers are looking a little scary right now because offensively they are getting it together. Coker should be back next week. And that only helps because they've got a lot of talent depth-wise at wide receiver. I'll just say that. They maybe don't put up the stats, but the talent is awesome. Like Xavier Legette has talent. He made a really dumb lateral play today, and I don't know what he was thinking, but Jimmy Horn, he can play. He's a tough dude. You still got Hunter Renfrow in the office. That wide receiver room is like those guys are tough guys. And, they're probably getting in Bryce Young's ear like, dude, get it together here. And he seems to be getting it done a little bit, right? I don't know. Bryce last week, I was thinking him as more of a sell because he just had a lot of ADV, artificial dynasty value. But, if you can, I still think if you're a contender and you've got him as your third or, you're hanging out with Lamar or Allen or whoever as a stud, and then you got Bryce Young as your 2, I still would try to flip him into a more safer point producing like Dak Prescott or Baker. You'd probably have to give something up to go on top of Bryce Young to get to that. But I don't know. If I'm rebuilding and I got Bryce Young, I'm feeling pretty good a little bit now, right? What do you think?
So I actually like the idea of keeping a hold of Bryce Young as my number 3, just because from an acquisition standpoint, especially like if you're buying, I'm not sure you can get a better producing QB3. What is going on with this guy in the chat? There we go. Banned.
He's giving us some
Anyways.
NFL HD.
Yeah, I got him. Anyways,
I don't know what happened there.
I just
don't think it's jinx, but
yeah, no, it's not. It's good. I got him.
All right.
So when it comes to this Dave Canales offense, like the slot was the security blanket. We saw last year when Bryce Young started to ascend, it was when Adam Thielen came back and he had that easy button over the middle. And from what I've been watching with Carolina, they'll have good run plays, good base plays. They'll have explosive plays, but those got to have it third down, check down, over the middle, a slant, like those easy like plays that should be easy that move the chains. They just can't get it done because they're trying to throw the ball to Xavier Legette. And, he's not exactly like he doesn't have great hands. You know what I mean? He's good in traffic. He's good in motion, but he's not the guy that you want to go to in those situations. So I don't want to overblow the impact that Coker might have for fantasy, but I think once he gets plugged back into this offense, it's really going to open everything up.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
If he is that easy button guy, he could be one of the few PPR scam type guys that are going to be on the board. Because if this offense is just good enough to move the ball, maybe not quite as explosive to get down the field like we were talking about, that's where we're going to produce that environment to really get that cheat code. Like think Wan'Dale Robinson, but maybe with like a 15-yard reception once or twice a game.
A little better, or a little better depth of target there. Than
Exactly.
Hey, I was happy with Wan'Dale this week. But let's move over to Dallas and a PPR monster this week. George Pickens, 9 for 168 and the touchdown on the slant. Beautiful touchdown there, right down the middle. Took it to the house. Dak is just he's a machine right now. I don't know if there's anybody in a league that's got Dak that's still not contending, but if somebody lost and they were on the fringe, that's who you want to. Those are the teams where you want to target Dak, because somebody might have been, 2-3 or 4-6 or 5-5 in a median league this week and loses, and they've got Dak sitting there, dude. You gotta jump at the opportunity for it. You got CD coming back potentially next week, if not the following. Man, some people think it's like CD's going to lose volume. No, this offense is just going to be that much better when CD comes back, and it's scary. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Dallas offensively. I don't care whether they're winning or losing. I know their defense sucks, and Dak's going to be throwing it almost 700 times this year. So again, it just comes down to the volume and the fact that he's actually playing in the fourth quarter. Last year it was so bad that he had to sit out the fourth quarter of some games. So I don't know where you're at. If you got anything on Dak and Pickens, they're obviously playing awesome right now. Do you sell Pickens worried about CD coming back? I don't think so, right?
No. So my must-buy list in the offseason, Dak Prescott, CD Lamb stack was on the very top of that list. There was like this very weird couple month period where the rookie hype hit. Dak was still considered injured, coming off of his injury.
Sure.
And CD Lamb just started to drop down the dynasty rankings for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Right.
And I invested a lot of my higher 2025 rookie picks into getting that Dak CD stack. And if I'm a Dak owner, which you don't have Dak if you're in any of my leagues because I have Dak, but he has single-handedly kept me alive with CD Lamb out. Like obviously I have other things going on those teams, but not to gloat on myself but I know there's tons of managers in the same position. They lost Malik Neighbors, they lost CD Lamb, they lost whoever, these other guys. I have some teams sitting at 4-1 right now with CD Lamb coming back because I didn't give up. I did what we've been talking about. I grinded out the waiver wire and got a Michael Carter week. I traded what was it? I traded Tesla and a third for a second, and then I traded a second for Darren Waller. Like you just have to continue to try to grind and figure out little moves to stack those points up. Don't give up hope. Dak's going to be a league winner. Hopefully you didn't trade CD Lamb. If you do trade CD Lamb, the only person I would trade him for would probably be Jackson Smith and Jigba. And I'll leave it at that.
Oh, talk about smashing. Real quick, Aaron Shaw, he's got a quick question. I'm doing it if that makes sense for your roster construction and you need a running back. Absolutely, a 26-second for JCM. I don't know.
I would smash accept that if it's already in your if it's in your inbox and they sent it to you already, just hit the button right now. Just hit it because JCM's that dude.
Yes. Now, from JCM to JSN, who you just mentioned, we've got the Seahawks-Jags game, who I was excited about this one. A couple of exciting teams. Both teams, fringe playoff caliber. They're both 4-2 coming into this. I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders, but they're definitely teams who could, sneak out a victory in the playoffs. Sammy Ballgame just tearing it up here once again. 295 and 2 touchdowns. Over half of those yards to your boy JSN, 8 for 162 on 13 targets. Like, other than Rico Dowdle, my God, this guy, he's just tearing it up, man. He's getting the targets that we all hoped for. If you sat on him through that rookie season, it is paying off huge right now, right, Dustin?
Oh, yeah. I think he might have heard the entire world calling him a slot receiver for the last couple years because last time I checked, that guy shared a field with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, and they both admitted that he was the best wide receiver on their team. He was the
best, yes.
Yeah, absolutely, as a freshman. So, yeah, it's JSN's incredible. I mean, he's getting like a Puka Nacua-esque volume. I mean, essentially you can take Seattle and just call it, Los Angeles North. The Shanahan, the McVay offense, the Kubiak offense, it's going to be very similar. Right. So we're seeing this just massively condensed target share. I was on X for a few minutes. I saw somebody share. I think they said Jackson Smith and Jigba has a 42% opportunity share in their offense.
Well, he had 13 targets on 27 attempts today. That was even higher than 42%. Is there a more frustrating back to own right now than Kenneth Walker? I mean, we talked about, I forget who we were talking about earlier as being frustrating, but man, because I know I've got him in a couple leagues and it's super frustrating to see him walk the team down the field. And then either Zach Charbonnet gets the touchdown or Darnold throws it to somebody else now, which I'm fine with if he's throwing it to somebody else. But just seeing Zach Charbonnet in his solid 12 for 24 on the day just makes me want to throw up. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what I got to do. Kenneth Walker, 10 carries, Charbonnet, 12 carries. I don't know. Do you just sit back and hope for the Charbonnet injury if you're a Walker owner? Like,
yeah, I mean, I can't even really call this one a victory. I mean, I've been, a staunch Kenneth Walker's a bad investment guy, but I mean, it's just so frustrating. They're essentially both useless. I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable starting either of them.
Right.
And they're just going to kind of be that guy that's stuck on your bench. And then when you're flipping through Sleeper, you're going to be like, I lost by this many points. And you're going to see Kenneth Walker scored 0.1 points more than you needed to win. And then you'll start him next week and then he'll score 3 points. And it'll just be this never ending thing. So yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but one of Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet is just going to wake up and decide that they don't want to play football anymore, aka get injured, and then
I hope that's
the only way it's going to happen.
To Charbonnet,
yeah, I don't want to talk about. I don't like to wish that on anybody, but
no, I don't want to wish injury.
It's part of the it's part of the reality of fantasy football. I mean, if we're really looking at the forest for the trees, if you built a hero RB team this year and you played your cards right with this running back class and some of these guys, I mean, you're sitting pretty right now. You know, it might not have
Sure.
looked great before, but like a lot of these guys are out or they're not even playing, you know?
Yeah.
So you just got to keep grinding.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker's he's tough, man, because he also feels like if you try to sell him after a blow up week, then he'll just go and have a great season. You know,
Yeah.
he's just one of them like
He
super
looks
frustrating guys.
he looks so good when he explodes through the hole. I mean, all right.
Yeah.
Speaking of frustrating, Trevor Lawrence, which I own as little shares of, finally gets the ball to BTJ this week. 8 for 90 and a touchdown on 10 targets. Travis Hunter getting 7 targets. That's promising. Just 4 for 15, but I love the targets. Again, it's going to happen. Maybe not till the playoffs, but it's going to happen for our boy Travis. ETN with a rough day, but let's talk about BTJ slightly here. We're anybody who owns him's got to be happy finally. Hopefully, you didn't put him on the bench. Seattle's secondary isn't that great, so he should have been a start this week, even as frustrating as he had been this week, right?
Yeah, definitely. You know, he's the kind of player where you invested so much into him,
Yes.
where you traded so much for him.
Right.
You know, the managers have been gutting it out at this point. So hopefully you're not, you know, you didn't flip him for 50 cents on the dollar. I noticed just from being able to watch that game through Red Zone, you know, and going back through a couple of things, it looked like they were utilizing Brian Thomas a lot, you know, better, like a lot more like they did last year. You had a lot of outbreaking routes to the sideline, some more of those like deep crosses, like I was talking about. It seemed like they were trying to get him out of traffic a bit, try to get him some more easy looks. And it also looked like Cohen kind of took it out of Lawrence's hands and he designed some looks for BTJ where he was the only read and everybody else on the field was just camouflage, just pulling defenders and moving guys around. So, yeah, I mean, if you're a BTJ manager, I would definitely be encouraged. It might not be perfect because of Trevor Lawrence, you know, just being honest. Like, we're not always going to get, you know, a great game script. Just kind of, I guess I would say, pay attention to BTJ and his matchups. Maybe when they go up against defenses that are going to put up a little bit more resistance, just be careful kind of with how you set your flexes. You know, maybe try to shoot for a little bit more upside whenever BTJ has those tougher defensive matchups. But he's more than going to make up for it with the spike weeks.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Do you got anything? I know you watched your Steelers. You got anything to mention on that game in particular? I know Caleb Johnson got a couple carries. I don't know. Is there anything you wanted to bring out from what you saw in that game?
Well, I had
Whether
refrained
it's
from
or Pittsburgh.
I had refrained from any and all commentary about the Steelers previously in the season, but I will say, after 4 games, I think we actually have a chance, Chris. I think we might actually have a good football team. So I'm starting to buy back in.
4-1.
It's just so tough, man.
I mean,
yeah, but George Pickens, Najee Harris, like all these guys are gone. It's just tough, you know. I'm going through the phases here. Got a Justin Fields Steelers jersey hanging over here.
Oh, brutal. Ouch.
Yeah, brutal, dude.
I have a Devin White Tampa jersey, so I feel you. All right. I feel you there.
He did make some good plays today.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the Indy. How about Indianapolis? Indy and Arizona. We got the quote unquote Bam night start there in Arizona. We've got an injury update. Marvin Harrison had a concussion, so watch for that next week. And I don't know if Brissett will be starting or not, but Brissett definitely looked better than Kyler, at least, right? I mean, if it was Kyler starting this game, I would have thought would have been another repeat of the 40-6 win Indy had last week. But Arizona was in this game. all game, and Danny Dimes still pulled it through. So JT 123 on the ground and a touchdown. Danny Dimes with a touchdown on the ground. 212 and 2 touchdowns through the air. Tyler Warren 6 for 63 in the touchdown, and Josh Downs finally got going. 6 for 42 and a touchdown. Michael Pittman just 3 targets, 2 for 20. So that part of it's not that surprising, I guess. What do you see from the Colts offense as a whole? Like, Warren seems like he's going to get consistent targets, but everybody else is kind of right.
Yeah, I mean, Danny Jones is, his strength is over the middle of the field. Steichen's offense has always been designed through the tight end. And Jonathan Taylor essentially is having like a 2024 Saquon Barkley season right now.
Yes.
I mean, the man is unstoppable. He had a touchdown run today where if you counted contact per like a PFF grade, he contacted like 10 defenders, but in reality, like he just like brushed by their jerseys because he was like just liquid, dude. It was pretty incredible. Like he's having like a comeback player of the year type season almost. Like I know he came off that ankle injury last year, but he's picking up where he left off at the end of 2024. He looks unstoppable. I think you're right, though. It's going to kind of be like playing, craps as far as which one of these Indianapolis wide receivers is going to produce. As much as I hate to admit it, I think I was wrong about the Daniel Jones rushing touchdowns, too. I mean, if he's not going to get it from the one, I mean, he got to the pylon and made a couple guys look like a fool in that game. So, yeah, I mean, Indy looks legit.
They do actually look legit. Speaking of not looking legit, the Ravens go down again. They're down to 1-5 without Lamar. It's just a rough road. Henry still showed up today, got over 100 yards, but the rest of the offense just wasn't there. It's like the Rams just played and said, all right, the big man can get this, but Cooper Rush is not going to do anything. Sort of opposite of what you'd think. You'd think, all right, we got to pile up against Henry and make Cooper Rush beat you. They decided to go the other way. And hey, the Rams, they might not win pretty, but they got another win. Stafford, let me look at the stats here. Not pretty. 181 and a touchdown. Kyron got in the end zone. The big news here, I think, really is the Puka injury. Okay, it was an ankle, if I'm not mistaken, and so we're just gonna have to monitor that. As to, I don't think it was as bad as like some of these. We had a couple, like Fred Warner got a nasty injury today, and like the Godwin injury last year. It's definitely not to that level at all. So just watch that. Monitor it. It doesn't seem like it'll be more than a couple of weeks. But yeah, I don't know anything other than that on the Rams or Ravens to add.
No, I would just, like you said, keep track on the injury reporting with Puka. You got to be careful with the foot injuries with wide receivers.
Yeah.
They're not as detrimental as a running back. I'm just really hoping it's not a Jones fracture. Kind of like that's what took out Jaden Reed. We'll see there with Puka, but hopefully you have Devontae Adams. One of my strategies, I have Devontae on like 8 teams because I have a lot of contenders this year, but anywhere I had Puka Nacua, I stacked with Devontae, not only because I think he's going to be top 15, potentially a number 1, but it was for this circumstance potentially. Now that they'll have a week to design a game plan where Devontae Adams is the number 1, he's probably going to be, a top 5 option while Puka's out. And the other thing with Devontae, just kind of an aside on himself, they continue to have these struggles in the low red zone in the running game. I know Blake Corum got banged up too. As soon as they start using the Devontae Adams tunnel screen in the red zone, he's going to start going absolutely nuclear. I mean, that's been his signature
Stafford
play.
missed Adams in the back of the end zone today on one.
Twice. Yeah.
Normally
he went at him twice. Yep.
Yes. Normally he's going to hit on those. So expect that to continue, I think. Even if Puka comes back, Adams is still a red zone monster. And
absolutely,
Stafford's definitely somebody to buy if you're contending, because as long as he's healthy, like, he's cheap and he's going to produce. No running whatsoever, but as your quarterback too, I'll take it, right? All right, let's go on to the Niners and my Bucks. Baker just does it again. Depleted even when Ibuka went out. So that's another injury to watch. It's a hamstring for Ibuka. And you know how hamstrings go. They could go anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks, essentially. So it's kind of a mishmash they threw together after that. Nobody really stood out. Cam Johnson and our boy Tez Johnson gets into the end zone. And then Rachaad White continues to put up points fantasy-wise, right? 65 and a touchdown on the ground, 3 catches, 21 through the air. So Rachaad White, pretty solid. Not quite what Bucky Irving was putting up, but, you could do much worse there. Any thoughts right now on the Bucs offense? I think next week we might see Mike Evans back. All right. But it might be another week. So we might have a real ugly week next week for Tampa.
Yeah. They're such a mess right now. Like this Chris Godwin fibula injury is like really, really worrying me. One of the doctors that I follow, I think he works with football guys, was talking about potentially hardware in his leg.
Yeah.
And like a bone bruise situation, kind of like where he hit the hardware inside of his knee and it like swelled up. So yeah, I mean, did Devin Culp have any stats in that game? Did he play at all? Their tight end too?
No, he didn't quite get you a target even.
He didn't get a target. No,
maybe next week.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean that's where they're at. I mean, who else are they going to throw the ball to?
Otten was 6 targets, 5 for 51. So last year he smashed in this opportunity because it's the same thing as last year. Baker still produced without anybody, and Cade Otton was the guy who definitely stood up. I almost forgot about that. But yeah, you can pick up Cade Otton in a number of different places.
Yeah, maybe he's a sneaky, cheap ad if you need a little bit of production to get by. But, I mean, the good thing is if Baker can stay upright, I mean, he's going to score all the fantasy points. I mean, he's going to have to just continue to put the team on his back. And, I mean, I'm hoping they can get healthy relatively quickly because – if we get Baker Mayfield playing at the level he is and get those pieces back around him, I mean, this team should be able to get hot and go on a run. So,
yeah, as a Tampa fan, I just want to see him ready. All 3 of those, Evans, Godwin, and Ibuka, healthy for the playoffs. But as a fantasy owner, who I've got shares of all of them here, there, and everywhere, I do want to see him there for the fantasy playoffs as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Over to the Niners, Mac Jones, dude, that guy was a warrior today. I'll say that. He goes out there with his knee injury and oblique. Tampa was hitting him left and right, still put up 347 through the air. This was a great chess match, between Kyle Shanahan and Todd Bowles, and Bowles held off on the blitzes until the second half, and then they brought it. And, he could have had another fumble there. They just ruled him down. They reviewed it, and he was down. But Levante David had a sack that could have been another turnover. Kendrick Bourne, another golden nugget day, 5 for 142 on 9 targets. So if we don't see Pearsall next week, I mean, Juwan Jennings only had 3 targets today, so I don't expect that going forward.
F.
I know, he's your boy. And I picked him up for a guillotine league, so it hurt me too, Juwan. But yeah, McCaffrey doing his thing, got a touchdown on 54 yards on the ground, 8 targets, 7 for 57 through the air. So McCaffrey just continues to be the machine in this offense. I don't know, 6 for 58 for Tongies.
Just give me George Kittle back, please.
Right. I mean, all it comes down to, like, they could have benched Mac Jones this week because of the injury, and I would have picked up whoever they were playing after him. The way this offense is running, whoever they would have inserted at quarterback, I would have wanted to play, not just because Tampa's secondary is completely obliterated right now too, but Shanahan's just a genius, and it's a fantasy machine there. So if we ever get Purdy, all these guys back, it could be great, but injuries are just part of football, and you gotta plan around the injuries happening. I hate hearing people at work complain to me about injuries ruining their season. I'm like, dude, you didn't think any of your guys were going to get hurt all season? Like, they're playing football, okay? How many of your guys, go through your roster, how many of your guys played 17 games last season? Right. All right. And
absolutely,
we're getting this mad rush of backup quarterbacks performing. Like, as soon as Kyler Murray was announced that he might not play this week, I scooped up Jacoby Brissett in all the leagues possible that I could. So I'm just saying, be active on your waiver wire, do the things necessary so that you're not the one complaining on Monday morning that your guy was hurt and that's why I lost. Any thoughts on injuries and how you roster construct around it real quick? Because I know we got to get out of here. This big game.
Yeah,
Sunday night starting soon.
We're gonna sign off here in a couple minutes. I just wanted to remind everybody, if you don't want to end up the Monday morning coffee talk about your fantasy football team, please like the video, subscribe to the Dynasty Rewind channel. Make sure and check out Zach's videos. Hoff's putting out his freshman 15. And definitely don't miss an episode of the Dynasty Rewind podcast. The boys drop that every morning on Thursday. Chris and I will be back. We're going to be doing a Sunday morning start sit and a recap video like this every week. We're going to be putting out some recorded content. So definitely tune in and check it out, guys. As always, I'm Dustin. That's Chris. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Later.